I grew up in a place where there's churches that have been around for hundreds of years that still have these thriving congregations, and they've been around forever, and they probably will be around forever. And I spent a lot of my life in places like that. And then fast forward, I moved to Austin, and even Dallas is different. Dallas has very established churches that are still thriving and growing and living. Austin does not, and it was very weird to me. And I started going to Redeemer, which was meeting in the Women's Federation at Texas, and then over at Concordia Lutheran, and then all the different places we met. And it just wasn't the greatest fit for me. And when David and I got together, we were trying to figure out what we would do for church. And fortuitously, I had history. I knew Bill and I knew Martha from camp and the South and RUF and all these things, and David did as well. And so we had the opportunity to be part of the All Saints plant, which was really exciting to me because I wasn't sure what other choices there were going to be in the PCA. And as much as I always say I'm kind of a weird PCA member, I love it, but I'm not. There's some things that really bother me, but I can't find any other place that I can rest as well as I can but the PCA. So I really wanted to stay in the denomination, but I just didn't know what the options were. So when All Saints came along, we were so excited and jumped on the chance to be part of it. And then very quickly after that, I started working. I was third employed. Bill and Gate and I would sit in our very, very early staff meetings, if you could even call it a staff meeting. And we would talk about, could this be a place that could be one of these 100-year churches? Could this be a place that could be still around in 50 years? Could this be what the Lord was doing? And we didn't know. We had hopes, and we had this robust initial interest. I think we had like 100-ish people on the first Sunday, which was amazing. And we were growing, and there's always this idea in the back of our heads, like, what if this could be? What if we're being called to be this place in Austin? All Saints is not perfect. I've been through a lot of really challenging things in our church. But I have to say that I think that there is something special about what is happening at All Saints. And I think, I actually taught on 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1 Samuel 11 and 12 this morning in women's large group. And Samuel is transferring the Israelites over from the judges to the kings. And he's trying to make them understand that Saul has been anointed their king, but he's also trying to get them to get it again. But one of the things he says 2 times is stand firm. And this word he uses is this word that means be rooted. Be stand up for something and be rooted in that thing. And I think, when you look at the statistics about churches, they're all just the church, like Tim said, is tanking. And yet somehow we're growing, like crazy growing. We're growing. Despite ourselves. And I think that's something to pay attention to, and that rootedness in a place that is so transitory and so just liberal, and there's just so much going on here that would counter this church that's very conservative growing so much. And I think that there's something for us to pay attention to. And I think David and I have been a part of a couple different campaigns, and all of you guys have participated in different things at schools and your community and all around. But one of the things we've talked about before is that these privileges and the joys that we're enjoying now are because of someone else's labor. Some of yours, setting up the chairs and coming early and putting out the donut table, or serving over and over and over again in the children's ministry. You guys have all been around long enough. You've been doing these things forever, but we say we're standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. And some of us are those who've been there the whole time. But that is what creates this legacy, this rootedness that will be a blessing for our children, hopefully, and our grandchildren. And I have to say, serving as a deaconess and David being elder and just seeing this influx of this multi-generational people, it is really cool when you're doing new member interviews and these people are coming in and they're being drawn because of their children or their grandchildren. And you're hearing people say, well, I would love for my, daughter to get married here and things like that, that this is the legacy. And, I was really struck when we turned 20. The PCA turned 50 this year. Mm-hmm. So, we're almost we've been around almost half the time of our denomination, which is amazing to think about. And I think there's just so much opportunity to create a legacy to go forward, to be this place that is a refuge and that provides rootedness. And I would say one of the things I see in the women's ministry and the Bible studies is one, we're maxing out. Like there's no room. I mean, there is room, but it's like very full. But it's so cool. Like my small group has an 80-year-old woman, 2 7-year-olds, 2 new moms, like 1 young adult, and then a couple of us types. And it's so rich because of all this discussion. And I think there's so much value to that in this very modern, very cool, very hip place, to be this place that's this refuge and that presents this very stable, normal kind of picture of life, the slice of life that you can't get really many other places in Austin.